so much for the opportunity to be a part of this. I always get excited anytime I see something posted on our Facebook group, and I just found these opportunities to be amazing to learn what you all are doing, and I just wanted to share a little bit about what we've been doing. But I guess what the EAB would say, I'm the application administrator for Baylor. And I still don't really know exactly what all that is, but I've been doing this since June 1st. And then, Ron, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, Ron English, and I work with the system again to tie students who have been given progress reports. I'm tying those students, I'm trying to get in their way strategically to get them connected to the resources that's going to help them be successful. And of course, at the bottom line of what I do is, of course, retention, right? So we're hoping that they don't just flunk out without getting at least in touch with or know about the resources that are available. So I'm in the system. My job actually is now fully in the system. That was always the case. I used to manage 3 or 4 systems to do this one job. So I'm glad it's all in one place. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. This is good. So one thing we've really, No, sorry.
It's broken down.
Oh, there it is. So sorry. Okay. So, awesome. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about coordinated care. This has been a big goal for us, is thinking about how different offices can work together. Obviously, I mean, that's the beauty of SSC, is that we can share the knowledge about students so that, I mean, just like the attendance idea, and an advisor can see that and share that. And so there's a lot of options. And as you all know, anytime you're onboarding something new, it kind of takes a little while to get the lay of the land. So this spring, we've been doing some things that are a little bit different and new. And the more we do, the more we think about what we can do next. So initially, one idea we had, and it was in, well, I'll just kind of talk about these 4 different areas, which y'all all know about, but I think of some of the outreach tools as communication campaigns. So sometimes when I start saying campaigns, people get nervous because of the appointment piece, but I'm like, okay, there's a communication campaign, and it's going to be all right, where we can just send out a message to students. That's, you know, what we just heard about, lots of great messages being sent out. Of course, you know, the text feature is fun, and navigating how best to do that. But those are great options, and I know I've had an event on campus that I got to use that for and got some more feedback. But obviously also we have our progress report campaigns that Ron's going to talk about. And then the different appointment campaigns at this stage of the game would be, of course, advising appointments and tutoring appointments. And so I was going to talk about how we've kind of strategized the first 3 of these to kind of feed off of each other and enhance the other. It's kind of like a relay. I feel like we've been passing that baton around. So literally probably December 23rd, I was in my office with one of our great campus partners in the Arts and Sciences Dean's office, and we were running dropped courses report. We wanted to know how many students dropped calculus at any point in the semester and who were going to retake it in the spring. And we thought that would be kind of a neat group to outreach to, just make sure they know about the resources. We know students drop courses for a variety of reasons. So it wasn't necessarily that they weren't even doing well in that course. They could have been, but we thought, what if we sent that message out to those students? So we got our undergraduate program director in math to actually send out a communication campaign. He sent it out to 79 students who we saw were retaking or taking calculus after having dropped calculus. And it just was a great message talking about tutoring, talking about SI. We use an ALEX exam that's kind of the math placement exam that we're using now. I think it has some tutorial stuff. And so he was reminding them, don't forget, you can go back into ALEX if you want to kind of refresh on something. That's available to you. So he was telling you about all the resources, meet with your faculty, that sort of thing. So when I ran the list right now, 50 students were still enrolled in Math 1321, which is our calculus class. And then I ran a report of tutoring appointments for that group of students. I mean, using watch lists, being able to say, capture this group and then run and see who's doing what now. But 5 of those students had made an appointment for tutoring before the tutoring appointment campaign that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But anyway, this was kind of the initial thing. I think late January, early February is when he sent this message out. So that's happening as a communication campaign. And then we have our progress report campaigns that Ron's been sending out, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what that looked like.
And so we, of course, as you can see, the total number of at-risk progress reports, this is this semester. And that number is up through, I believe it's around April 15th or so, dramatically fall after that. So we have, we received almost 4,000 at-risk progress reports. And we've got, I don't know if you think that's a large number or if you think it's a small number. For us, we think it's a big number. And part of the reason why I believe we end up with a number so big is because for years we've been on our faculty and professors about submitting, we just call them all kinds of things. So I'm just going to go with progress report. They've had different names throughout the years. But around week 6, we do kind of a gut check. And so that is where one of our campaigns run out, is right around week 6. And as you know, they get this email that goes out, and then when they go through, I don't know if you know this or not, but when they go through and they say I'm done, so if they've got a class of 10 people and they only are concerned about 3 of them, well, that progress report is created for the 3, the at-risk one, but then the other 7 are given a good progress report. And so we've got, for a number of total progress reports, we're up around 12,000 for this semester. Professors are really bought in. This is after one of the folks out of the provost's office went around with me, had found that students who had failed classes and not received any kind of warnings throughout the semester, she went around and confronted a few professors in that kind of, or she confronted a few deans rather, when she would go to the actual professor, but she confronted deans. Said, look, this class had 7 people fail the course and not one single progress report went out on the student. And so that shook some cages for a little bit. And so anyway, she had done it since. I don't know how to, maybe we'll do it again. I don't know. It's kind of fun to me. Anyway, so the campaigns, so you can see that out of the almost 4,000, a good chunk of them came from our at-risk reports. And by the way, the 6-week check, this year this semester, we did for the first time right around the 10th week. We did another push for about 200 students, ones that were the most at risk during the other time. And so in the past, I would see maybe 5 or 6 progress reports on an individual student. This semester, I've seen up to 12.
Wow.
I mean, it is amazing. So I don't know if it's easy. It creates a lot of concern for the students that get 12. And I'm talking about 12 at risk. I'm not talking about 12 overall. I'm talking about 12 at risk. That's a big number. And it's over almost 2,400 unique students are receiving all of this. So yeah, next slide would be, and this is what it looked like throughout the semester. So these are the numbers of weeks, right? So we've got all the way down here, a number of weeks. And you can see, of course, at the beginning of the semester, relatively slow. Week 1 for us, week 2, week 3. And these numbers are not cumulative. This is what was received in that week. And so, as you can tell, we're getting all these reports coming in, and then right around week 6, we jump way up here because of the campaign. And a lot of the professors actually look forward to it. And we see this right here, all the professors just said, well, I missed it. You did it before I got my grades in. So it's okay, go ahead and do it. So they got it in, and then of course we started again around week 10 to try to hit. Now I only sent it out to about 200 students, for about 200 students. And so you can see there were others that were in there, and I think it got back in the minds of the professors. So now we're kind of coasting out. I don't know if there's another slide behind this one, but anyway, this is kind of what it looks like for us. It has been very helpful for identifying, and because now we've got all the categories, so we can look at who's on probation, figure out who's in here. We can look at who's a veteran, figure out who's in transfer students off campus. So we're looking all over the place and combing through this data. So much so that I'm not exactly sure what to do with all of it. So we'll have to figure out some of our campus partners that we're thinking through, or that has been thinking through, how to go to my campus partners and say, hey, this past semester you had this many people who came through, and how can we work in the future? What kind of reports do I need to get you in order to get some of these students? They do not respond to me well. Not because they know me, but they just don't know my name. So when they get an email, the email comes from me. It's my email address, my name at the bottom, but they don't know me. So I get very few students out of all of these who actually come and talk to me. So I've got to start employing people around campus to get in the way.
Great. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for your work. As you can see, what Ron does is so helpful, because at Baylor we do not have midterm grades in SSC. And so our at-risk progress reports help serve as a measure of how students are doing. I think that would be amazing if we could have some midterm grade data, but right now we don't have that. So what our tutoring coordinator did during this semester was she ran the at-risk progress report campaign for calculus. That's one of our hot button classes that's very popular in the tutoring center. And so we thought, what if we reached out to those students and prompted them, if they received an at-risk progress report in calculus, to make a tutoring appointment. We do a lot of walk-in tutoring in our tutoring center, but we thought if a student had actually made an appointment and had reminders and had that commitment, maybe that would prompt them to come in. So she did this amazing work of creating 11 tutoring appointment campaigns. She created one for each section. She did a great job of communicating with the faculty member, letting him or her know, here are the students we're specifically going to reach out to. Are there any others that you would like included in this? So partnering with our faculty, working together. So there were 131 students who were invited via these 11 campaigns. 19 appointments were made and 12 appointments were attended. And we think, oh, when you think about these students, I think this is great that those 12 students came in, they met with somebody. But here's what's really cool. So these are just the responses to the campaigns, and these campaigns had a limited 1 hour, a very specified time that the student could come in, and it was one day only, it was for their section. So if that student couldn't come in during that time, what happened? Well, I ran the tutoring appointment report just for this group of students that we outreach to. So these are students who received an at-risk progress report for calculus and were included in the tutoring campaigns. So when I ran the tutoring appointments report, there were 90. These students had 90 tutoring appointments out, maybe just at all during the semester. And 43 of the appointments were scheduled or took place, because they may have been drop-in, after Melanie sent out that appointment campaign. So, we got no stats, but just looking at this, I'm guessing maybe, perhaps receiving that email saying, hey, would you like to make a tutoring appointment? Maybe they looked and saw, oh, that time doesn't work. But maybe that prompted them to go in. So this was just really exciting. Then looping back to that original communication campaign that our Math UPD sent out. Do you know that there were only 3 students who initially received that message that were included in this? So that's kind of exciting to me too. So the majority of those students were not at risk for calculus. Anyway, I thought that was some good news too. But here's the graph. I just graphed it out. Just you see, for this group, there are some that have been coming into tutoring, which is wonderful. And I didn't break out unique students, I'm not exactly sure. But you see that huge jump. That campaign went out April the 3rd, and that is almost half of the tutoring appointments for that group. So anyway, it's just a beautiful way to see how all the different ways we work together can hopefully just reach out strategically when they're ready to hear us, which is always the challenge. But thank you so much for letting us share what we're doing down the road. Do y'all have any questions? Sorry, and we might not have time because I know
We have like 3 minutes.
Okay.
I was just curious, how long have you been using the system?
Oh, good. So I think Baylor onboarded fall of 2016, is this right, for advising. I was actually the tutoring coordinator prior to moving into the role I'm in currently. So June 1, I'll have been doing this for 1 year. But we started out with our advising offices using it, and then we onboarded our tutoring program in January of 17. Yes. And so, I guess 2 years, 1 year, 1.5 years. Is that right? Oh, I'm not
Coming up
good.
on 2 years.
Going on 2 years. Ron's our math person. Yes.
If you mentioned this, I apologize, I'm on a caffeine deficit.
You've been doing a lot of things.
Do you have appointment tutoring or is it walk-in?
Okay, love this question. So we primarily have walk-in. We have a few appointments because of budget. So what Melanie did that was super creative was she added certain calculus tutors would have maybe 1 extra hour outside of, because it was just a one-time during the week. We're hoping that maybe if they came in once, that they would come back and use the walk-in times. And so it was a small group tutoring session so they could sign up. So I think it was maybe 8 to 10 slots for that hour. And it was only going to be with students who were in their section. So it was a unique appointment that
And
otherwise
tied to a class section.
yes, that was tied to a class section, so it got really specific. But I've shared with her about your 3-to-1 group tutoring model that y'all use, that
Yeah,
y'all
I'll
remember you
talk a
talking
little
about.
bit when I get up there.
Yeah,
The
so-
EAB played into that.
That was good. Yes, good question, because I know funds are the challenge with tutoring. Anything else? Thank y'all so much for letting us be here today.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.